The stepmother left the stepdaughter alone on the road. Days later, she was surprised by what the girl's mother did. 7-year-old Teresa wandered distractedly down the hallway, looking for her teddy bear that she always left in the living room. She had curly brown hair that fell over her shoulders and green eyes that reflected her curiosity and innocence. As she walked, she heard muffled laughter coming from the living room. Getting closer, she recognized the voice of her stepmother, Monica, speaking in a low tone, but with a strange familiarity, as if she was planning something important. Why does she always laugh like that when she thinks no one is listening? Why does she act so different when Dad's not home? Thought Teresa, feeling a growing unease in her chest. The door was ajar, and Teresa peeked through the crack. She saw Monica, an elegant woman with a calculated smile, gesturing animatedly as she spoke to a man Teresa had never seen before. He had an intelligent look, with dark hair and an expression of someone who knows exactly what they are doing. Monica seemed different when she was with him, more relaxed, as if she was showing her true self. Monica seems different. How strange. It's like she's a different person, like she's pretending when she's with me and Dad, thought Teresa, her small hands clutching her teddy bear tightly. Lorenzo is so naive. He really believes every word I say. That money will be ours soon, and he'll never know what happened, Monica said, laughing softly. Teresa felt a chill upon hearing her father's name, realizing that Monica was betraying his trust. What was Monica planning? Fear began to grow inside her like a tide that couldn't be contained. She's talking about Dad's money. This can't be happening. He's part of our family. How can she deceive Dad? Teresa thought, her heart pounding in her chest. Monica's accomplice, whose name Teresa didn't catch, chuckled softly before responding. And what about the girl? We need to make sure she doesn't interfere with our plans. We could get rid of her. Teresa shuddered at the indirect mention of her, and panic threatened to overwhelm her. They're talking about me. I'm the girl. What do I do now? She thought, her hands starting to sweat coldly as she pondered her limited options. Monica shrugged indifferently. Teresa is not a problem. She's just a child, and no one will believe her if she says anything. We need to focus on what matters. Make sure Lorenzo doesn't find out about anything until it's too late. The coldness in Monica's words cut Teresa like a knife, and she realized there was no time to lose. She thinks she can do this without anyone stopping her. I need to warn Dad before it's too late, thought Teresa, her resolve growing as the initial fear began to morph into desperate courage. As Teresa prepared to silently slip away, her feet faltered for a moment, and she tripped over a small table by the door. The sound was loud and clear, like an alarm bell ringing through the room. Teresa's heart stopped for a second, panic seizing her as Monica and her accomplice's gazes snapped immediately toward the door. Monica stood up quickly, her eyes fixed on the door, with a mixture of surprise and irritation. Who's there? Is that you, Teresa? Tell me right now, she demanded, her voice as sharp as ice. Teresa held her breath, paralyzed with fear, as she desperately tried to think of a way to escape. Monica strode towards the door, flinging it open and looking out. I know someone's there. Show yourself now or the consequences will be worse. You don't want to have me as your enemy, so tell me at once who's there, threatened Monica, her voice filled with venom. Teresa, her heart racing, realized that she needed to run before it was too late. I can't let them see me. I need to get out of here, find Dad, and tell him everything before Monica does something to silence me, she thought, her body trembling with the urgency of her situation. Without further hesitation, Teresa turned on her heels and ran down the hallway, her heart hammering in her ears. She knew she had to act fast, that every second counted, and that her only chance was to reach her dad before Monica could stop her. I won't let her do this to our family. I will fight this with everything I have, thought Teresa as her legs carried her swiftly through the house in search of safety and truth. Teresa ran down the hall with desperate urgency, her bare feet slapping against the wooden floor as her thoughts swirled around what she'd just overheard. I need to find Dad and tell him everything, but this house is so big, it feels like a maze just like in the cartoons on TV. If I'm not careful, that will slow me down and Monica will catch me. I need to be quick before she reaches me. I can't let her stop me, thought Teresa, her eyes focused on the door that would lead her to the exit of the house. However, as she ran, Teresa could hear Monica's hurried footsteps, which sounded like thunder in her ears. But before she could get out the door, Teresa felt a strong hand on her shoulder, pulling her back. Monica was staring at her eyes narrowed and her expression severe, like a storm about to break. "Teresa, dear, what do you think you're doing?" Monica said, trying to soften her voice, but failing to hide the edge of irritation that pierced through. Teresa, her heart racing and her mind churning with fear and determination, was not fooled. "I heard you, Monica. I know what you are doing. You can't lie to me or Dad," said Teresa, her voice trembling but firm. Monica sighed as if she were dealing with a stubborn child who didn't understand the complexities of the adult world. She knelt down to Teresa's level, looking directly into her eyes, trying to project sincerity. "You didn't understand anything, dear. Everything is fine. My friend and I were just discussing business. Nothing you need to worry about. Come on, let's go talk to him together and clear this all up." Monica tried, her smile seeming more like a mask than ever. Teresa shook her head vigorously, her curls bouncing in protest. "You think you can fool me like that?" "I won't let you deceive Dad," she replied, her eyes blazing with determination. Monica's smile vanished, replaced by an expression of anger. She knew she was losing control of the situation and needed to act quickly to prevent Teresa from doing anything that could ruin her plans. "Okay, Teresa, if you don't want to listen, then we're going to have to do this another way," Monica said, her voice taking on a chilling tone that made Teresa cringe. She stood up and with a firm hand began leading Teresa down the hallway. "You can't stop me from telling Dad. I'll find a way even if you try to stop me," thought Teresa, her mind searching for a way out as she was guided through the house. With each step toward the front door, Teresa felt the hope slowly slipping from her hands. Monica, now determined to control the situation, tightened her grip on Teresa's hand, leading her outside. "Get in the car, Teresa. We're going for a drive and we'll clear this whole thing up," Monica ordered, opening the car door with a brusque gesture. Teresa hesitated, feeling the weight of Monica's words in the darkness of the unknown before her. "I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't scare me. I'm going to tell Dad everything. Don't try to stop me," Teresa said, knowing that the situation was about to get worse. Monica let out a heavy sigh, her patience wearing thin. "Teresa is being irrational. I don't want this to become more difficult than it already is. Get in the car now, or things could get worse for all of us," said Monica, her voice now laced with a veiled threat. Teresa felt a shiver run down her spine, but she stood her ground. "I know what I heard and you can't force me to be quiet. I will protect Dad no matter what you do," Teresa declared, her eyes shining with determination. Monica's frustration morphed into impatience. She held Teresa by the shoulders, forcing her to move toward the car. "You're going to do what I say. Do you understand me, girl? You're not going to ruin everything I've planned. You're just a little girl. You are not stronger than me," Monica asserted, trying to justify her actions as she pulled open the car door and shoved Teresa inside. Teresa struggled to stand her ground, trying to fight to stay in the house, but her stepmother was much stronger, making her heart pound in her chest. "You can't do this to me. I just want to protect my dad. I won't let you hurt him," Teresa said, as she was placed in the back seat. Monica started driving the car with an air of coldness and determination, while Teresa felt her conflicting emotions morph into pure fear. The road ahead seemed endless, and the silence inside the car was suffocating. Teresa fought back tears, determined not to show weakness. "Monica, I don't want this ride. I want to go back home and talk to Dad," Teresa said, her voice small but firm, trying to make herself heard despite the dread that was overtaking her. Monica shot a look of pure disdain at Teresa in the rearview mirror, without any attempt to disguise her irritation. "You think your opinion matters to me? You're nothing but a nosy little girl who doesn't know how to stay in her place," Monica said with contempt, making her true nature clear. Teresa felt a lump form in her throat, but refused to be silenced. "I heard you talking about Dad and the money. You're a liar," Teresa shouted, her tears finally escaping. The car screeched to a halt, the engine dying with a low growl that seemed to echo in the night. Monica whirled around, her eyes blazing with anger and impatience. "You're just a child. You don't understand anything about the adult world." "And frankly, I don't care what you think," Monica declared, each word cutting Teresa like a knife. Teresa held her teddy bear tightly. Teresa held her teddy bear tightly, as if it could protect her from the venom in Monica's words. "I'm going to tell Dad everything. You can't stop me," said Teresa, her voice choked with tears. Monica got out of the car and opened Teresa's door with a sharp tug, ignoring the girl's cries. "Get out of the car, Teresa. I'm tired of your drama. Come on, we don't have all day," Monica ordered, unconcerned with the fear etched on the girl's face. Teresa tried to resist, clinging to the seatbelt with all her might. "Hey, please don't leave me here. I promise I won't say anything if you just take me back," Teresa pleaded, trying one last time to appeal to Monica's heart. But Monica just laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "You really think your promises mean anything to me? I don't care about you or any of you. So don't waste my time. Nothing will stop me from getting what I want," Monica said, before slamming the car door shut, leaving Teresa alone on the side of the road. Teresa watched in despair as the car sped away, disappearing around the bend in the road. The cruel reality of the situation settled like a stone in her stomach. She had been left alone. "I have to be strong. I have to find a way to get home and warn Dad," thought Teresa as she stared down the road, watching an unfamiliar car approach. Fear and determination battled within her, preparing her for whatever was to come. Teresa's mother, Antonia, was at home, lost in the thoughts of her day when the phone rang, tearing her from her tranquility. It was Monica, and there was something in her voice that made Antonia's heart clench instantly. "Antonia, it's about Teresa. She ran away while I was distracted. I've looked everywhere, but I can't find her," Monica said, sounding concerned. But Antonia felt panic flood her veins, her mind refusing to process the words, as if hearing them were enough to shatter her world. "This can't be happening. Teresa would never do this. She wouldn't just leave for no reason," thought Antonia, battling the rising despair that threatened to drown her. "I'm going to find her. Did she leave a note? Did she say anything about where she was going? Any clues at all? What happened that she would run away?" Antonia asked without pause. However, Monica deflected all questions, stating that she had no idea where Teresa was. With the call still ringing in her ears, Antonia set the phone down with trembling hands, her heart beating like a furious drum, each beat echoing like a scream inside. The image of Teresa, her sweet, curious little girl, lost and alone, was a pain that burned like fire in her chest. Without a second thought, Antonia grabbed her car keys, her body moving on pure maternal determination. "I need to find my daughter. I need to bring her back home where she will be safe," thought Antonia, urgency propelling her out the door. As Antonia got into her car, her face was a mask of anxiety and concentration, tears welling up in her eyes, threatening to spill over, but she brushed them aside with fierce determination. "I won't cry now. Teresa needs me. I have to be strong. I have to think," she murmured to herself like a mantra to keep hope alive. The streets flew by in a blur, her mind racing with possibilities and memories of places where Teresa might be. "I know her every thought, every hiding place. I know I can find her," she thought, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She decided to find her ex-husband, Lorenzo, someone who could help in the search, someone who would be just as driven as she was to find their daughter. And the news fell like a storm upon them both, Lorenzo trying to rationalize while Antonia felt despair rising, an uncontrollable tide of fear for her daughter's safety. "Antonia, calm down. Monica said they had an argument. Maybe Teresa is just upset and went into hiding somewhere," Lorenzo said. But Antonia shook her head, her voice laden with a painful certainty. "No, San Lorenzo, this doesn't make sense. Teresa wouldn't run away just because of an argument," Antonia replied, her voice a mixture of pleading and determination. As they searched for Teresa, every dark corner and unfamiliar face heightened Antonia's anxiety, each passing minute without finding her daughter a fresh stab at her heart. Lorenzo's doubts started to morph into genuine worry, finally understanding the gravity of the situation. "What if she really is lost? We need to think like Teresa. Where would she go if she was scared?" he asked. But Antonia already knew the answer. "I know my daughter. She would try to come home. I'm sure she's somewhere nearby," thought Antonia, her hope fueling her relentless search. Finally, the search led them to a deserted road on the outskirts of town. Antonia stared out the window, searching for any sign of Teresa, when something caught her eye. Standing on the side of the road, partially covered by leaves, was Teresa's teddy bear. Antonia felt her heart clench at the sight of the familiar toy. "Lorenzo, stop the car! It's her bear!" Antonia shouted, her voice thick with emotion, as she gestured frantically toward the side of the road. Hope and fear intertwined as she ran to pick up the bear, each step fueling her resolve. With the bear in her hands, Antonia felt the tangible presence of her daughter. She knew Teresa was near and that she wasn't safe. "I know she's here somewhere. She must be scared and alone. We need to find her before something happens," Antonia said, looking into Lorenzo's eyes, pleading for him to see the truth she felt in her heart. Lorenzo, finally convinced of the seriousness of the situation, nodded grimly. "You're right. We can't waste any more time. We're going to bring her back," he decided, his voice firm as they prepared to continue their search, aware that time was against them. Antonia held the bear tightly, as if she were holding Teresa herself. Her determination was a palpable force, fueled by love and fear. "I will find my daughter. I won't stop until she is safe at home," she vowed to herself, each word an anchor for her unwavering determination. Antonia and Lorenzo arrived at the police station, the air thick with the urgency and desperation they both felt. Antonia clutched Teresa's teddy bear to her chest as if it were an amulet capable of bringing her daughter back. As they approached the counter, the weary expression of the officer who greeted them seemed to promise little comfort. "Please, our daughter is missing. We found this on the road near where we think she might be. We need your help to find her," Antonia said, her voice a mixture of pleading and determination. The policeman glanced at the bear, a flicker of sympathy in his eyes, but his response was a bucket of cold water. "I understand your concern, but without any more information or leads, it will be difficult to locate a child who may have left on her own," he replied, his words ringing like a death knell. Lorenzo tried to process the situation, his mind torn between the desire to believe that everything would be okay and the growing fear for Teresa's fate. He tried to comfort Antonia, but doubt continued to gnaw at his confidence. "Maybe she's hiding somewhere, just waiting for things to calm down?" "We can't give up hope yet," Lorenzo said, trying to sound positive, but Antonia shook her head, refusing to accept that possibility. "Lorenzo, Teresa would never do that. She's not playing hide and seek. She's in danger, and we need to do something now," insisted Antonia, her voice filled with a desperate conviction. The policeman sighed, aware that his words were not going to be well received. "We'll do what we can, but it's important to be prepared for all possibilities. Some children do leave home out of anger or rebellion. Perhaps we should wait and see if she comes back on her own," he suggested, his attempt at being reasonable only igniting Antonia's resolve to wait. "How can we just wait when she could be out there, alone and scared?" thought Antonia, the idea of inaction as unbearable as Teresa's disappearance. As they left the police station, Antonia felt frustration burning in her veins. She couldn't understand how Lorenzo could be hesitant at such a critical time. "Do you really believe our daughter ran away because of an argument? She's just a little girl," Antonia exclaimed, looking directly at Lorenzo, her eyes filled with tears and fervor. Lorenzo hesitated, his inner doubt reflected on his face. I don't know what to think anymore, Antonia. But we have to be careful not to make things worse," he replied, his voice trembling with uncertainty. Determined not to leave Teresa's fate to chance, Antonia made a firm decision. She couldn't wait for others to do what her heart was telling her was necessary. "I will continue to look, even if I have to do it alone. I can't rest while she's still missing," Antonia stated, her determination unyielding, like a force of nature. Lorenzo watched as she walked away, his own uncertainty slowly transforming into the silent resolve to support the woman he knew so well. "Teresa needs us. We can't give up, not now," he thought. As Antonia pressed on, her mind and heart were focused on the only thing that mattered, bringing her daughter back home. Night was fast approaching, and Teresa felt the weight of the darkness as she walked along the deserted road. Her steps echoed in the stillness, every sound amplified by the silence around her. She clutched her teddy bear to her chest, her only companion amidst the growing fear. Teresa tried to find her way back home, but the road seemed endless and unfamiliar. Her thoughts were filled with longing and the hope that her parents were looking for her. I just want to go home. Mom and Dad must be worried. I have to keep walking, she thought, forcing her tired legs to continue. Suddenly, two men appeared seemingly out of nowhere, walking in her direction. They had a relaxed air about them, but there was something in their gazes. The expression on their faces made Teresa stop and instinctively step back. Hey, kid, what are you doing here alone? Need a ride home? Asked one of the men, trying to sound friendly. But Teresa felt a pang of mistrust. She knew she couldn't trust strangers, especially in a situation like this. I can't trust them. I can't let them take me away, Teresa thought as she took a hesitant step back. The second man, sensing Teresa's hesitation, smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, we just want to help. We can give you a ride home. Just tell us where you live, he insisted. But Teresa felt like there was something wrong with the way they spoke, her mind racing, remembering the times her parents had told her to never talk to strangers. They could be dangerous. I have to get out of here, find a safe place, thought Teresa, her resolve strengthening in the face of potential danger. Without another word, Teresa suddenly turned and ran, feeling her heart pounding in her chest. The men called after her, but she ignored their calls, focusing only on escaping. The road seemed to stretch endlessly ahead of her, each step a monumental effort against fear and uncertainty. I can do this. I need to find somewhere to hide until Mom and Dad find me, thought Teresa, her breathing growing heavier as she ran. But exhaustion and the uneven terrain took their toll. Teresa tripped over a loose stone and fell hard, the impact echoing through her body. The pain was sharp and sudden, radiating from her ankle and making any movement difficult. She bit her lip to keep from crying, the tears threatening to spill over. I can't stop now. I have to keep going even if it hurts, thought Teresa as she tried to get up, determined not to give up even as everything seemed to be working against her. The darkness and danger seemed to be closing in around her, but Teresa knew she needed to find a way to survive and get back to those she loved. The pain in Teresa's ankle was unbearable, but she forced her body to move, crawling off the road. The fear of being found by those strange men still weighing heavily on her. It was then that she heard soft footsteps approaching and a calm but concerned woman's voice. Hey, child, are you all right? What happened? Are you hurt? Do you need anything? How did you get here? Asked Dorothy, a middle-aged woman with graying brown hair and kind eyes as she crouched down beside Teresa. The girl looked at her, trying to gauge if she could be trusted. What is she doing? She seems different, like she really wants to help. But what if this is another trick? Mom and Dad always say not to talk to strangers. But if I don't talk, how will anyone help me? Thought Teresa, her heart wavering between hope and caution. Sensing Teresa's state, Dorothy didn't hesitate, scooping her up in her arms, feeling the girl's light weight and how much she was trembling. Come on, dear, let's get you out of here. I'll help you. You don't need to be afraid of me, okay? We need to take care of that injury. I won't leave you alone in this place. It can be dangerous for a little girl your size, Dorothy said firmly as she carried Teresa towards her small house nearby. Teresa felt a sense of relief, but the fear lingered. Can I trust her? I need to be careful, but I also need help, she thought as Dorothy carried her to a place that seemed safer within the security of Dorothy's house. The woman cleaned Teresa's wound and carefully bandaged her ankle. You're safe now. You can tell me what happened. I'm here to help, Dorothy encouraged, her voice calm and comforting. Feeling a bit safer, Teresa began to explain what had happened, talking about Monica and how she had been left on the road. She seems to really care. Maybe she can help me get home, Teresa thought, observing Dorothy carefully, searching for any sign of insincerity. Dorothy, sitting beside Teresa, felt the seriousness of the situation. So, where do you live, dear? Let's see if we can get you back home, she asked, trying to hide the worry in her voice. Teresa frowned, trying hard to remember the address. Instead, she began to describe the house, talking about the white gate and the large oak tree in the garden. My name is Teresa. My mom tells me I shouldn't talk to strangers, but I need help getting home. I just know it's near a school, and there's a red swing set in the backyard, Teresa explained, her words tumbling out in a rush, as if somehow the description could magically transport her back. Dorothy saw the difficulty of the situation and the fear hidden in Teresa's eyes. Without an address, finding the house would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. But Dorothy also knew that she couldn't give up. "Okay, Teresa, we're going to find your house, don't worry. I'll help you get back to your family, I promise," Dorothy assured, her voice firm and reassuring. But inside, uncertainty gnawed at her. What if I can't find the way? It could be really hard to find one house in this huge city. The next day, Antonia was still determined to find Teresa. Every passing minute, her daughter's absence became more unbearable, and her maternal instinct guided her like a compass, indicating that Teresa was closer than it seemed. As she paced Teresa's room, the memory of a conversation with Monica echoed in her mind. Monica once mentioning a deserted road, she used to avoid traffic. Monica once told me she always takes the road where I found Teresa's teddy bear to avoid traffic. I always felt something strange about her, as if she was hiding something or not a good person, thought Antonia, her instincts screaming that there was more to the story than met the eye. Lorenzo, I find it very strange that our daughter ran away from home just when she was with Monica. I don't believe our Teresa would do that. She has always been very responsible. I'm sure something else happened that your wife is hiding, Antonia said. However, Lorenzo shook his head. He had complete trust in Monica. He watched Antonia as she rummaged through Teresa's room at his house with a feverish determination. Antonia, I know you're worried, but Monica wouldn't hurt Teresa. She has always taken good care of her. You need to see this for what it is. Teresa may be hiding somewhere, scared for some reason we don't understand yet. But I don't think it has anything to do with Monica, Lorenzo said, trying to calm Antonia's suspicions. He couldn't believe that his wife would do something so cruel, wishing that there was a simple explanation for all of this. Determined to follow her suspicions, Antonia knew she needed a plan to investigate further. Lorenzo, why don't you make a sandwich for both of us? I haven't eaten anything all day and we need to be strong to go back on the road. The police may give up, but I won't. We have to eat to stay strong until we find Teresa, suggested Antonia, trying to sound calm while her heart beat fast with anticipation. Lorenzo agreed, satisfied to be able to help in some way, and headed to the kitchen. As soon as he left the room, Antonia quickly went into Lorenzo and Monica's room, determined to find something that would confirm her suspicions. I need to act fast, take advantage of the fact that Monica is at work and Lorenzo is distracted. I know I'm not wrong. There's something more to this story. Lorenzo can't see me here, thought Antonia, her heart racing as she began to search through the drawers. While going through Monica's belongings, searching for anything that could confirm her suspicions, Antonia found an envelope tucked away among papers in the desk. Inside the envelope, she found a series of documents, including a photograph that made her heart skip a beat. The photo showed Monica standing next to a strange man, someone who was not part of their lives. This isn't a coincidence. Maybe she has a lover? If my daughter found out, would Monica be capable of doing something to my daughter to hide her secrets? Thought Antonia, despair seizing her. She hesitated for a moment, but knew she needed to know what was there. Who is he, and why is Monica with him? Going over every detail of conversations and moments leading up to the disappearance, Antonia began to perceive small clues that had previously gone unnoticed. It could be something much worse than a girl simply upset by a scolding. Antonia took the photograph to Lorenzo, the expression on her face a mixture of sadness and determination. Look at this, Lorenzo. Who is this man? Don't you think it's time to pressure Monica into telling the truth? She was in her care, Antonia said, her words laced with urgency. Lorenzo took the photo, recognizing the face of the man he had seen briefly, but unwilling to accept the implication. Antonia, this doesn't prove anything. It could be some friend from work. Monica would never hurt Teresa, he replied, his voice filled with a mixture of denial and hope. Determined to follow the clues and uncover the truth, Antonia decided it was time to act. She wouldn't let anyone hurt her daughter. You're not going to defend Monica to me. I'm talking about our daughter. I won't allow anyone to hurt Teresa, she said as she grabbed her keys, determined to find her daughter and show Lorenzo his wife's true colors. Dorothy and Teresa decided to start looking for a way out of their situation. Inside Dorothy's car, Teresa, still recovering from her fall, sat in the passenger seat, her anxious gaze fixed on the road ahead. Dorothy drove carefully, but the urgency in her movements was clear. Both knew they needed to find their way back to Teresa's house as quickly as possible. "Can you remember anything about your house or any place nearby? Maybe we can find a way to take you back. If we don't, I'll have to go to the police. Your parents must be worried," Dorothy asked, trying to guide Teresa through her memories. Teresa tried to concentrate, but her nerves made it hard to think clearly. "There's a school near my house with a big oak tree in the garden, and my house has a red swing set in the backyard." Dorothy saw the difficulty of the situation and the fear hidden in Teresa's eyes. Without an address, finding the house would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. But Dorothy also knew that she couldn't give up. "Okay, Teresa, we are going to find your house. Don't worry. I'll help you get back to your family, I promise," she assured, her voice firm and reassuring. But inwardly, uncertainty gnawed at her. What if I can't find the way? It could be very difficult to find one house in this huge city. "I think I'm remembering more things. I need to focus," thought Teresa, as she took another sip of her drink. As soon as they finished eating, Teresa looked around and suddenly her heart jumped as she saw a man entering the diner. It was Monica's accomplice, the one she had seen before. Fear gripped Teresa again, and she grabbed Dorothy's arm urgently. "Dorothy, it's him! The man I told you about, the one who was with my stepmother. We need to get out of here right now," Teresa exclaimed, her voice laced with panic as she tried to alert Dorothy to the danger. Dorothy quickly glanced at the man, realizing it was time to act. "But we can't let him catch us. We need to get out of here as quickly as possible," she thought as she quickly stood up and guided Teresa toward the exit, adrenaline fueling every movement as they prepared to flee again. Dorothy knew she needed to act fast to protect Teresa. She grabbed the girl's hand and headed quickly for the back door. "Go, Teresa. I'll distract him. You need to run and get help. Call the police and don't go far. I'll catch up to you as soon as I can distract him," Dorothy instructed, her voice firm despite the fear that filled her. Teresa hesitated for a second, the desire to stay with Dorothy battling the instinct for survival. "She's doing this for me. I need to be strong and get help," Teresa thought, preparing to follow Dorothy's plan. Dorothy turned to face the accomplice, trying to buy some time. "What do you want with her? Why are you following us?" Dorothy asked, trying to sound fearless, even while her heart pounded wildly. The man with a confident smile replied, "I just want to take the girl back to where she belongs. You shouldn't have gotten involved," he said, his voice cold and calculating. "I can't let him take her. I have to buy time," thought Dorothy, placing herself between him and the exit. Outside, Teresa ran as fast as she could, her feet moving on pure adrenaline. It was then she saw a payphone in the distance. Hope surged within her, and she ran towards it, her footsteps echoing in the night. "This is my chance. I need to warn someone before he catches me," Teresa thought, her heart pounding in her chest. Teresa reached the phone and quickly dialed the police, her hands shaking with the urgency of the situation. "Please, I need help. My name is Teresa. I'm being followed and I'm scared. My stepmother left me on the street, and there's a man who's friends with my stepmother. He's after me. You have to come to the diner across from the pharmacy. I'm scared he's going to hurt me," she managed to say, her voice fraught with desperation and urgency. But before she could give any more information, the accomplice was almost on top of her. "He's coming! I have to warn them before it's too late," she thought, the pressure mounting with each passing second. The accomplice advanced quickly towards Teresa, his footsteps heavy and menacing. She knew she had little time before he reached her. "Please, he's here. I'm near a diner on the highway. Send help, quickly!" Teresa screamed into the phone, but the call was cut off as the man ripped the phone from her hand. He was so close, thought Teresa, her heart sinking as hope seemed to dissipate. The accomplice, determined not to let the situation get out of control, grabbed Teresa roughly by the arm and began to drag her toward his car parked nearby. His face was contorted in an expression of anger, his words filled with threat. "I'm going to end this once and for all. You're not going to cause any more problems for me or Monica," he growled, tightening his grip on Teresa's arm as she struggled to break free, but his strength was overwhelming. "He's serious. I have to break free before he takes me away," she thought, as she tried to wriggle free, pulling on her arm with all her might. determined not to give up, even as the situation seemed hopeless. But before he could get her away, the distant sound of sirens began to cut through the air, the flashing lights of the police approaching quickly, a sight that filled Teresa with renewed hope. The man faltered, his face hardening as he realized that time was against him. "I've ruined everything if they catch me. Don't think I'll let my Monica suffer. She'll know what to do with you, and she'll show you that you shouldn't interfere in our way," he said, his voice cruel. Antonia was sitting on the couch, the silence of the house weighing down on her like a suffocating blanket, when the phone finally rang. "Good evening, Mrs. Antonia. This is the police officer. We received a call from a girl who identified herself as Teresa, reporting that she is in a dangerous situation near a diner on the highway," the officer informed, his voice calm but laden with importance. Antonia felt a wave of relief and excitement wash over her hands tightening around the phone. "Thank you, officer. We're on our way right now," said Antonia, her voice resolute, as she hung up the phone and turned to Lorenzo. "It was the police, Lorenzo. Teresa managed to call them. We need to go to the highway near the diner," Antonia explained quickly, her voice a mix of relief and urgency. Lorenzo, absorbing the information, nodded, realizing they needed to hurry. "We have to get her back home as soon as possible," he thought, his mind now focused on one thing only: Teresa's safety. Upon arriving at the location, Antonia saw the police car with its flashing lights, and further ahead, she recognized Teresa's small figure, still being held by a man. Without wasting any time, Antonia and Lorenzo ran towards their daughter, the desperation in Teresa's eyes making both their hearts clench. "Let her go now. Don't touch my daughter. I will never let you hurt her," Antonia shouted, her voice ringing with a protective fury that left no doubt about her intent, determined to fight with all her strength. Lorenzo, seeing the man holding Teresa, felt an unexpected courage surge within him, the sight of his daughter in danger awakening a fierce instinct. He positioned himself beside Antonia, facing the accomplice with a determination that surprised even himself. "Let her go, or you'll regret it," Lorenzo said, his voice laced with an authority he didn't know he possessed. "I will not let anyone else interfere with the safety of my family," he thought, stepping forward, ready to defend his daughter. With the intervention of the police, the man reluctantly released Teresa, realizing that he had nowhere to run. The officers arrived and quickly handcuffed him, their expressions firm as they carried out the procedure. "I acted alone. No one else is involved," the man insisted, his voice cold as he was led away by the police. "He's lying. No one will believe me now," Teresa thought, feeling a quiet anger at the fact that he was trying to protect her stepmother. With Teresa finally safe, Antonia rushed to her, her heart pounding with relief and emotion. She knelt down next to her daughter, wrapping her in a tight embrace, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. "I'm here now, dear. I will never let anything like this happen again," she vowed, her voice choked with emotion, stroking Teresa's hair, feeling finally whole. Teresa, in turn, clung to her mother, sobbing with relief. "I was so scared, but I knew you would come save me," she thought, nestling against Antonia, feeling secure in the arms that would protect her from any danger. Dorothy, who had remained at the side of the police, giving information to save the girl, watched the scene and felt a warmth spread through her chest as she saw the mother and daughter reunite. "Mom, that's Dorothy. She helped me on the road and took care of me when I got hurt. If it wasn't for her, I would be in really bad shape," said Teresa, pointing to Dorothy. Antonia turned to her, eyes filled with gratitude. "Dorothy, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my daughter, and I can never repay that," Antonia said, her voice full of sincerity as she extended her hand towards Dorothy. "You were an angel for looking after my daughter. You can count on me for whatever you need. I will always be grateful to you. I would do this for any child. Teresa and I have become friends, and we help each other. Isn't that right, Teresa?" Dorothy said, giving the girl a gentle smile. After exchanging numbers, Antonia promised to meet up with Dorothy to thank her again when things were calmer. In the car, as Lorenzo drove, Teresa pleaded to go to her mother's house, not wanting to face Monica yet. "Please, Mom, I want to go home with you. I don't want to go to Dad's house," begged Teresa, her eyes still reflecting intense fear. Antonia looked at Lorenzo, who was clearly struggling with what had happened. Of course, dear. You come with me. Let's go home. You're safe now, she promised as she gently patted Teresa's hand. After Lorenzo dropped them off at Antonia's house. At Antonia's house, Teresa felt safer and began to recount all the details of what had happened. Monica was lying, Mom. I heard her planning with that man. They wanted to take everything from Dad. And when I found out, she left me on the road? Teresa recounted, her voice trembling but determined. Antonia listened attentively to every word, anger mixed with a fierce will to protect her daughter. I won't let Monica get away with this. I'm going to come up with a plan, and she'll pay for what she's done. I believe you, Teresa. We need to catch Monica in the act to prove what you heard. We will not let her continue to threaten us. I will always protect you, Antonia promised, determined to expose Monica once and for all, to protect her family and uncover the whole truth. Antonia started planning how to ambush Monica, knowing she needed to be clever to catch her ex-husband's wife in the act. The next day, Antonia arrived at Lorenzo and Monica's house, her heart racing. She left Teresa with a trusted neighbor to carry out her plan. Upon knocking on the door, Monica answered, surprised by the unexpected visit. Antonia, what do you want? Monica asked, trying to maintain her composure. Antonia, with a serious and determined face, replied, We need to talk, Monica. I found something you need to see, she said, holding an envelope firmly. In the living room, Antonia placed the envelope on the table and confronted Monica. I know what you did, Monica. I have recordings that prove you left Teresa on the road and were planning to deceive Lorenzo to keep his money. It's all inside this folder, completely documented. There's video footage from cameras. I managed to access the contents of your phone, everything you planned, Antonia stated confidently. Monica turned pale, sensing the gravity of the situation. Lorenzo would never believe you. He'll always believe me, don't you know? Yes, I tried to get rid of your daughter when she was going to tell on my plans. It was nothing personal. It's just business, Monica said, trying to sound defiant, but despair was evident in her voice. In an instinctive gesture, Antonia brought her hand to Monica's face. How could you hurt